Good evening, afternoon, everybody, and welcome to week 5 in CU 122. Chef Suzanne and I are awfully excited to have everybody here this afternoon. What a great week 4 it was. We took a look at some fantastic assignments that came through with the sausage and eggs, and it was very, very impressive. I'd like to hear from a couple of people out there what you thought about doing the over easy eggs. Does anybody want to share? Anybody? Anyone? Chef Suzanne?
Chef, I had done them before. I had
What's
done
that?
them before. I was a short order cook for a little while, and it was about the same. Just you got to be gentle when you flip them.
Yeah? You got to go low and slow, right? Yeah. All right, thanks, Billy. Sabina, what's up?
Hey, so I kind of make them all the time because that's how my husband likes them.
Uh-huh.
But I got a little overzealous, so I went through some. The dog ate well,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I mean it's kind of like I do it all the time type of thing. I just had to be a little more careful because
Yeah.
it's not just making it for him for breakfast or dinner, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's kind of normal. When we're first starting out in this industry, you should expect to have a few broken yolks. Don't let it take you down, though. I broke quite a few trying to get good. So, thanks for the comment, Sabina.
Well, I didn't break the yolks.
Uh-huh.
One of them actually accidentally broke when I was putting in the thing. It was I turned away for like 1 second too long, and I got a little crispy. So then the yolk was fine, but I gave it to the dog and started over again.
Eggs are like chickens. Eggs are like children. They require a lot of attention. So, yeah. Thank you, Sabina. I appreciate that. Donald, what's up?
First off, I'm just going to say I am not a fan of over easy eggs. I do not like runny yolk at all. So this
Uh-huh.
week was kind of gross for me. The dog ate really good, all right, because I gave them to the dog. But
Yeah.
I probably went through like 3 sets of eggs because every time I tried to flip it, I would pop it.
Mm.
So it was a real pain. I'm not used to. I've always just flipped with a spatula, so trying to flip it in the pan was. I went through quite a few eggs.
Uh-huh. And that, you know what, Donald, that's a very, very normal comment. I remember when I first started flipping eggs, I had the same challenge. And it's not so much the flip, but it's the catch. And you have to give and allow that egg to come down into the pan and bring your pan down with the egg. And it's almost like letting something land on a pillow. You have to absorb some of that inertia that's created by the flip. So practice. After a little while, it gets better. And there's a lot of stuff that we cook in industry that we don't care for ourselves. But it's just one of those things because we have to take care of everybody. So good comments, Donald. Thank you. Miranda, what's up? Miranda.
Okay.
Hi.
I had that same issue. Egg was all over the place. I went through 18 eggs.
Wow.
I finally said, you know what? Between the poach and the hollandaise, we got to give that. That was another issue. But the eggs, I sent in the mistake, and then I sent in where I tried. Was it okay to send in the mistake and where I tried?
It's okay. We understand it. When we see a mistake that comes through, and I know Chef Suzanne's going to talk about this. When we see a mistake that comes through, we know that you're trying, and we don't consider it a mistake. We consider it part of the learning process. And mistakes are normal. I mean, I broke a lot of eggs. I had one night in the kitchen where it took me 600 egg whites to make meringue when I was in culinary school. So don't feel bad.
Okay, all right.
I think the most important thing, Miranda, is that you know that you made a mistake, because when I think the biggest issue is when I'm looking at assignments and students don't see that they made an issue. It's when you recognize that you had an issue, like, look, I went through 18 eggs. I know that they were wrong. I tried, and that's as important as getting it right. Yes, getting it right is important, but you now know all the ways that, all of the issues you had. And so if you are to share that, and this is to everyone, if you run into issues, make sure you're sharing it in your narrative. That is why the narrative is so very important, because it lets me know, like if I look and go, okay, Miranda did not make a poached egg, what is going on? If she didn't share that in her narrative to me, I would never know. I would just think Miranda forgot to make a poached egg. But if I see that she had issues and then she says, look, I tried it over and over. So make sure you're sharing information in your narratives.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good advice. Excellent sound advice. Anne, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
So I think the key is that Teflon pan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it flips like really easy. So I think that's the key.
It certainly enhances the process, having a Teflon pan. Once you get in, you might end up you might end up working at a place where they do their eggs on a flat top, and flat tops aren't Teflon. So it's not always Teflon, but the Teflon certainly makes life a lot easier. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, Ann. Jamie.
All right, so the eggs were like no problem at all. It was just a holiday sauce though. That one was a challenge. It was my first time ever, and I first thought I saw creaminess coming, but afterwards it started curdling after. And
So
I actually tasted it, and I was kind of like, my mouth just, I was grossed out afterwards.
yeah, what happens? Eggs are extremely susceptible to carryover cooking. So that means once you get those egg yolks up above 140 degrees, when you pull them off your double boiler, they're going to continue to cook. So you have to continue to whisk to incorporate some cool air to allow them to stop cooking a little bit. And unfortunately, once they scramble, it's kind of like taxes. They ain't going away.
Yeah. Yeah, because I realized I was kind of not being I was not whisking fast enough, but I was kind of like trying to be moderate enough where it was not going all over the place, but I was like, nope, it's curdling, it's over, it's already done.
Yeah, that's when you have to start over because they're not going away.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate the comments.
No problem.
Eliza.
Hi, I had fun.
Yeah?
It was flipping the eggs was fun. I had never done that before, and I broke one, but I got better with practice.
You know what? That's a key point that you just mentioned. Practice, practice, practice. The more that everybody does this out there, the easier it's going to become. And I know Chef Suzanne will say this as well. But that now we can flip eggs with both hands with our eyes closed and doing spins on one foot. And when I first started flipping eggs, it was impossible. There was no hope for me whatsoever. Isn't that right, Chef Suzanne?
I'll tell my story here in a second. I actually have an egg flipping story, so I'll tell the story.
I've seen eggs end up on the ceiling, on the floor, on people. So certainly do not be discouraged. Culinary arts takes time. And for those of you that are looking for instant gratification out there, slow down. It takes work, practice, dedication, and discipline. So absolutely. Chef Suzanne, thank you everybody for all of your comments regarding last week's assignment. Chef Suzanne and I are awfully proud of this class. You guys are rocking the house, and we're seeing some really good assignments coming in. I think our on-time submission last week was really, really good. So hats off to everybody, and thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Because running a kitchen, and once you get into industry, you'll realize this, it's not about one person, it's about everybody performing well together. It's real teamwork. So congratulations. Chef Suzanne, in the house.
I will start out by saying that you all make coming to work every day really easy.
Yes.
I know that I'm going to open these and I'm going to be just loud. And if there's an issue, then you'll acknowledge it. You'll let me know. So I'm going to show my slide. I don't have very many pictures this week. It's just a nice little short presentation. So let me share my screen. All right, is it on there?
Yep.
Yay. All right. All right, so I thought this was a great example of beautifully poached eggs and how they shed that nice runny yolk in the center. Really good up close pictures. Donald totally rocked it here with, that's why I had so many I had to show, because there's like the before, during, and after. Donald even made biscuits. So hopefully Donald took pictures, because I think that's coming up in another couple weeks, or Donald will be making biscuits again. So Donald overachieved. We love overachievers. The world loves overachievers, Donald. Don't stop. So here's another great one with some poached eggs and some gorgeous fried eggs with no crispy bits and browned edges.
Beautiful.
And how beautiful are those? Right, Brittany had, this is just such a nice picture of her sausage that I was just like, really would like some sausage. All of mine was still frozen because I didn't end up cooking this week, but yeah, I was really jealous of that. Kenneth knocked it out of the park too with his beautiful presentations, and even has a backdrop, for goodness sake.
The guy went Instagram on us.
He totally did.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And isn't that awesome? My internet connection is stable. And then Latrice knocked it out of here. Look, she's got some grits. She's like, I'm gonna put this on some grits, and
like it.
Beautiful presentation, and again, gorgeous eggs, not overcooked. And so, like I said, nice short show this week, but they did such a nice job. And again, there was other dishes that looked just as beautiful. And so now I will tell my quick egg flipping story. My first job in the industry was at a country club, and I was just 100% positive that I lacked the gene and the ability to flip food in a pan when I'd be watching all the other, and I just couldn't do it. I don't know what is wrong, but it just didn't ever let me. And I tried to tell my chef, I broke my wrist when I was a kid, so maybe I just don't have that ability. And he went, no, that's not how that works. And so he gave me a slice of bread and a pan, and he made me walk around all day and flip. That's all I did for an entire shift, which was super cool, by the way. But all I did all that whole day was flip, and he would watch me. I was only allowed to bring that bread up just enough to flip it over.
Yeah. And
he watched me, and by the end of the day, I could flip that bread, and then he switched out the bread and put in dry beans, like pinto beans, and then I had to flip beans. And it just takes practice. So if you have a pan, a slice of bread, and a lot of time, y'all can do it, I promise. I was about in tears because I just kept getting in trouble, and I was thinking I just didn't have the skills. Nah, I just had to figure it out. You just have to figure it out.
I'm on your side with that one. That is. I had to go through the bean zone, so to speak, of flipping eggs or flipping beans in a pan. I was not good to start with.
And y'all, if you can flip an egg in a pan without breaking that yolk, you can flip or toss anything. It doesn't get any harder than an egg to try and flip an egg and not break that yolk. If you can do that, you can do anything. The world is your oyster now. You just got to do that.
That's one little thing. Yeah, excellent advice. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that got a little discouraged trying to flip those eggs, give yourself time and patience. You are going to succeed, and you can do it. It just takes practice. You know, if you were to watch Chef Suzanne and I cook, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I don't know. But you know what? We started out right where you're at. And, you know, we had to work our way and train ourselves and learn everything. So don't be discouraged. You guys can do it by all means. Adrian, what's your question? Adrian.
Yes, Chef.
Hi.
All right, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. On the poached eggs this week, it came a bit challenging due to the fact that my wife was at work and I was trying to do my lessons while attending to him. So the first couple of batches of poached eggs that I did, I had to try to get him settled down. So by the time I got ready to test my yolks and plate them, they had gotten too cold, so I had to start completely over.
Oh no. Oh no. That's one of the challenges of cooking at home, but you run into the same problems in industry as well. So I think you're just getting some experience underneath your belt, because once you get to the kitchen, nothing goes as planned.
Absolutely.
So good comment. Yeah. Thanks, Adrian. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So ladies and gents, once again, just be patient and tolerant with yourself, because you are going to learn and you will get through it. But once again, excellent work on week 4. Chef Suzanne and I really appreciate it. I know how excited Chef Suzanne gets when she is taking a look at these assignments and the work and the quality of work that is submitted. So it's
true story, y'all. I really show off. I'll call my husband and my kids in. I'll be like, "Yo, come look at this plate. Look at that. Isn't that nice?" I really do that.
And everybody needs to understand the truth. Not every class is as good as this class. And we have some classes that are challenges, but in this class, there's a lot of really good students. So thank you very, very much for all your hard work and effort. All right, ladies and gents, let's move on to week 5 and take a look at a couple of messages. Once again, awesome job in week 4. Start preparing to work in advance. It's something that we've been wanting to mention to all of you. When you are in the kitchen and when you are cooking something, the worst thing you can do is think about what you're cooking. Because if you are, you're wasting time. You should always be thinking about what you're going to be doing next, right? So as soon as you complete one project, you've already thought out the next project and you're into the next one, thinking about the next one. So always think in advance. Never ever think about what you're doing. Think about what you're going to be doing once you get yourselves into the kitchen. And focus on your dream of becoming a chef. It's easy to get caught up in life, so to speak, with so much going on. Stay focused on your dream. Stay focused on your passion. Keep that passion alive. It's going to carry you very, very far if you give it the opportunity. And then expose yourself to as many different foods as you can along the trail. Exposure is one of the big keys to success in the restaurant industry. Isn't that right, Chef Suzanne? The more food you see.
It's funny you bring that up, because I actually had a note of some stuff I wanted to talk about. I was going to bring, that's so weird. Great minds think alike, Chef.
Thank you.
I actually had, because I know there's been some issues, whether and allergies are different. But I know that I've seen this. Well, I made it, but I don't much care for that, so I didn't try it. I had my neighbor try it, or my friend. Unless you have a bona fide allergy, y'all should try everything. You should try everything you cook, and anytime you get a chance to experience new food somewhere, try something new. It's nice to go to the same restaurant over and over again and you get the thing you like. Try something different. Try it cooked another way. Try a different chicken dish than you normally get. Try new things, experience new things. You're not always going to have your friend or significant other there to tell you this needs more salt. So try things. You have to try everything unless you have an actual allergy. If it's just that I don't really much care for that, that's not good. You should still try it. I don't like calamari, but I daggone sure try it every time I make it. But I know that I don't like it. But I need to know what it tastes like so that I can make sure it's seasoned correctly and cooked correctly for the folks that I'm serving it to.
Excellent advice. Do not rob your palate of the education of understanding different flavors. We had a couple of comments this week regarding the flavor wheel and not understanding it. And the more that you get out there and the more different flavors you try, the more you're going to understand it. So give yourself the opportunity. Just to piggyback on what Chef Suzanne was saying, never rob yourself of the opportunity to try a new flavor. It's okay if you don't like it. I mean, that's fine. There's things that I don't care for either, but I never turn myself away from being able to try something or expose myself to something new. And that's how we continue to grow in this industry. So the more exposure, the better off you're going to be. Paul Bocuse has a great statement here. Paul Bocuse was named Chef of the Century by the CIA. He was one of the gods in this industry. He passed away last year at the age of 91. And he held 3 Michelin stars from 1963 till the time of his death. He was a very, very talented chef. But his big saying was that if we make a mistake in the kitchen, we can cover it with sauce and call it a new dish. And I kind of like that. So basically what he's saying that never give up. You can always just make something new. So this week on our class page, you'll see here in just a moment, we do have another culinary conversions chart. The culinary conversions this week on the class page are all based on this information right here. Good job, everybody that's completed your conversions knowledge check. It is information that will be invaluable once you are in industry. So moving on to week 5, let's take a look at our class page. Make sure you read these research materials. A lot of very valuable information about baking in there, leavening agents, emulsifiers, fats. So make sure that you go through that information. You'll need to do that to be able to complete your knowledge check. So the two go hand in hand. The conversions knowledge check, just bring up that chart that we just showed you and you'll be able to easily answer all of the questions. Thank you everyone for your attendance today at our Week 5 live session. And for those of you that aren't here, make sure you watch the live session archive. And then down towards the bottom, we have our actual assignments this week. And this week we are working on pancakes and omelets, which we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Pancakes are an old breakfast standby, right? I've probably cooked 10,000 pancakes in my lovely career. And so make sure that you pay very close attention to this one. Is anyone following the prep list that we're sending out? Does it help? Yeah. Make sure that you do. It'll make your life a little easier. It's one less thing to think about because you can read this, think about your week, and move forward. Right? Wednesday, watch the live session. Thursday, read the research materials, complete both knowledge checks. Read and understand the assignment and prep list and purchase mise en place on Friday. Prepare assignment, check against rubric, and submit it Saturday and Sunday. Make any changes suggested by Chef Suzanne and resubmit on Monday and Tuesday. And make sure that Monday and Tuesday you make tacos because tacos rock. So any questions about that? No? All right,
actually, they could probably make tacos.
Yeah, does it have to be just Monday and Tuesday?
No, any day is good for tacos. I forget that. Yeah, bottom.
I live right above the Mexican border, so I mean it's hard to hide from them. You know, it's a challenge. All right, ladies and gents. Each week we like to talk about a different chef. And we've talked about James Beard. We just mentioned Paul Bocuse, and I think we've mentioned a couple other ones. And this week I was taking a look at Daniela Soto Inez, who is kind of a hero to me. She works with Enrique Oviera from Peugeot, which is one of the world's top ranked restaurants. And they are partners in a restaurant by the name of Cosmo. She was just recently named the world's top chef at the age of 28 years old, which I think is a really sound accomplishment. If she can do it, you can do it too. Let's take a look at this quick little video about her. She is super cool.
What ignites my passion as a chef is people. I believe that what drew me to cooking was personalities and people and the story behind why they were cooking what they were cooking. My name is Daniela Soto Inez. I'm the chef partner of Cosme and Atla based in New York. To be voted best female chef by my peers means a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. Yo Mexican have happiness and spice, and it has to be fun. You can't be too serious when you eat Mexican food. Cosme is not only a restaurant, but it's an institution. When we started Cosme, I was really young, and my basics were not only cooking, but exercising and maintaining a healthy life. So in Cosme, we bring that consciousness to the staff. We stretch before service, we do some squats before service, and that's how we can bring education for someone that lives in a very harsh city like New York. To see the stories behind the staff and how fun is it to take a Venezuelan with a Mexican with a Russian and have Cosme. I think for me that's the recipe of our success. What makes it work is the individuals that come with a smile after working 10, 12 hours a day, non-stop, watching them dance and sing from the top of their lungs and being so happy. I'm the proudest I could ever be for making someone's life so happy while they're doing their job. I like to work with the staff to create new dishes. So when we said, okay, let's make something for Venezuela, but in a sope, and then the chef said, maybe we can do an inflarita, which is the mistake when you fry a tortilla, and it's the most beautiful mistake when it flows perfectly. And I said, yes, maybe we don't use chicken and we use crab instead. And then that's how the dish became a Cosme dish. You know? We use individuals with ideas that maybe we learned something from the past, but we want to change it.
So that last statement that she just made is the whole point of watching that video, because collaboration amongst chefs is a huge key to success in this industry. We don't do anything. We guide and we direct, and we get ideas and solutions from our staff. And what she was talking about is that when they're coming up with new dishes, that they solicitate ideas from everybody that's in the kitchen. And that's how come their food is so good at Cosme. And she's also very innovative in her approach, just with the exercises and everything else and her whole philosophy. So that should serve as an inspiration to a lot of people out there. You can do it. She's 28 years old and she's at the top of the world. So that video is on your class page for your reference. Moving on to our next topic. We're going to talk a little bit about leavening agents for the next few minutes. Leavening agents are something that is critical when it comes to baking. To say it in layman's terms, leavening agents give off gases which force items to rise. Gases or steam and alcohol. And alcohol is done by the yeast, which we'll talk about here in just a second. It's used in breads, quick breads, cookies, and many other things. So anything that rises and has little air pockets in it most likely has some type of leavening agent that is used in it. Some traditional leavening agents that we work with in the kitchen: baking soda, carbon dioxide, baking powder, which is baking soda plus tartic acid, and then we have yeast. And then when yeast is active, it gives off alcohol. But the alcohol cooks at 176 degrees, cooks off at 176 degrees. That's why we don't see foods that have high alcohol contents, because once they get to that temperature, the alcohol will evaporate at 176 degrees, leaving behind just the flavor or the leavening actions. Eggs are a great leavener because they rise when they cook. Butter is also a good leavening agent as well, because butter is 20% milk solids and water, and when that water gets hot, it turns to steam and forces the products to rise. So that is a snapshot of leavening agents. So whenever you work with baking soda, that is a product that most likely has an acid in it, because baking soda requires an acid in order to activate. Baking powder has a tartaric acid in it, so you are not required to use an acid in your recipe. An acid could be vinegar, an acid could be milk, an acid could be lemon juice. So there's a lot of different sources that we pull acids from. Does anybody have any questions about leavening agents? Chef Suzanne, did I cover that thoroughly?
I think you did. And I think we all have heard of leaveners, but not necessarily kind of all lumped together, because we normally think of like, well, we're making cookies, so we're going to use probably baking soda and baking powder, or we're making bread, we're going to use yeast, things rise. And essentially they all perform the same kind of task. We just don't normally lump them together. So you all know this stuff, you just never really kind of put it all in one, like, there's a category that those things are called leaveners.
Right, leavening agents. The reason we don't use yeast for quick breads is because yeast is not quick. You have to activate it, and usually that's done in warm water and a little bit of carbohydrate between 90 and 100 degrees. That's what we refer to as being tepid. That temperature range is called the tepid range, about 90 to 100 degrees. So you have to activate the yeast in a little bit of water and a little bit of something sweet, and it'll start giving off that alcohol and carbon dioxide, which forces the product to rise. Whereas if you're making cookies or banana nut bread or zucchini nut bread, a scone, those things are called quick breads. So we will refer to baking soda or baking powder for that stuff. Just don't forget, baking powder and baking soda are the same thing, sodium bicarbonate, that give off carbon dioxide. But the baking powder has the addition of the tartaric acid, which was discovered at the bottom of wine barrels, just in case you were wondering where it comes from. So moving on to our next topic, we're going to take a look at a little bit of the equipment that we work with in the kitchen when it comes to preparing this week's assignment. A flat top or a griddle. You will spend a lot of time on those once you get into industry. Some people like to refer to them, the slang is a sear station. But you can sear things on there, but you will do a lot of breakfast cookery on these items. You can do eggs, pancakes, omelets, French toast, and the list goes on and on. And then over here, we have a pancake gun, which dispenses pancake batter. I don't know if anybody's ever gone into the restaurant and gone into a restaurant and ordered a stack of pancakes and they're all perfectly the same size. Well, they're using a pancake gun, which will dispense a predetermined amount of pancake batter so they all come out consistent. A whisk, there are many different types of whisk out there. We don't just buy whisk because they're pretty. We have horsehair whips and we have piano wire whips and French whisk. Piano wire, French whisk are very thin, designed to incorporate air into products. And then we have thicker horsehair whips that are designed to stir stews, pancake batters, and that type of thing. So once you get into industry, make sure you take a look to make sure you're using the right whisk. Teflon pans, we've talked about those. Make sure that you don't cook on high heat with Teflon pans. They do give off a toxic fume once they hit about 375, 400 degrees, so you want to make sure you stay away from them. And then spatulas. Don't get confused if the chef asks you to grab a spatula. Don't come back with a rubber one. Make sure you know what he's talking about when you do that. And then we also have stainless steel bowls is where we do a lot of our mixing in the restaurant industry. They come in various sizes from a couple of ounces up to 20 or 30 quarts. So some of those can be quite big. And when a pancake comes along, you must flip it. Is that the Beastie Boys?
You are so old, but it's even older than that.
Is it? What's that from?
That's I just totally blanked.
Devo.
Devo, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Beastie Boys. Oh,
yeah. They're still around, aren't they?
No, not. Actually, one of them passed away, sadly.
No.
No.
Oh, we should have a moment of silence.
Seriously, Chef, that was a big old downer.
I know, that's kind of a bummer. Yeah. Next, we're going to get into the world of pancakes. there's a couple of things that we need to talk about when it comes to making pancakes. Pancakes, we don't want to develop a lot of glutens. In flour, there are two proteins, glutenin and glutenine, and when you mix those with water, they form to create a protein by the name of gluten. Gluten creates structure in bread. Yes, there are some people in society that have celiac disease and are unable to eat gluten, and we need to accommodate them. However, most of us can consume it, and we have been consuming it for thousands of years, and we're perfectly fine. But when you're doing pancakes, you don't want them tough. So the type of flour that you need to use is critical, and how much you mix it is also critical. Some of the things with pancake batter, you just want to mix it until your ingredients are combined, right? And you want to use a lower protein flour. For example, pastry flour that we use to make pie crust and cakes is right around 3 to 5% protein. So when you mix it, you're not going to create a very tough dough. You want your pie crust to be very tender. All-purpose flour is about 8 to 10% protein. So that's perfect for pancakes. You're not going to develop a lot of gluten, but you will develop some. Whereas bread flour gets up close to 15% protein. That's where you develop a lot of glutens, and you develop those breads, those ciabattas and baguettes and the things that are kind of tough and chewy. So the flour is very, very important. And then another thing with pancakes, sifting is a very critical element when preparing the pancake batter. We're going to take a look at a quick video here. I'm going to stop and talk to you along it as we progress. First thing you notice is those pancakes have pock marks. We've been to restaurants before where the pancakes are very smooth, that nice brown. The way that we obtain that is we will put some butter down on the flat top, and then we wipe it up with a towel, and we leave just a fine sheen on top of the flat top, and that's what you're looking for. When you have too much butter or too much fat on your flat top, that's where those bubbles come from.
Pancakes, also called hotcakes or griddle cakes, are actually a form of quick bread. Instead of using yeast as a leavener, quick breads use a chemical leavener like baking powder and baking soda, allowing them to bake much faster. Pancake batter is also thinner and usually contains less fat than waffle batter. Start by sifting the dry ingredients.
So the sifting part is extremely critical because we just talked about the fact that you don't want to mix your batter a lot. And if you don't sift, you're going to be mixing a lot in order, number one, to incorporate the ingredients thoroughly, and then number two, to make sure that there's not a lot of lumps in the batter. So you'll sift all your ingredients together. You can use a strainer basket, or you can use a traditional sifter.
Then add the liquids to the dry ingredients, mixing by hand until almost combined. Be careful not to mix it too much. You don't want to dry it out or create tunneling. It should still look a little chunky.
So when he's referring to tunneling, what he's talking about is the overdevelopment of the glutens. If you mix it too much, you're going to develop that structure that holds that holds bread together, and you want to avoid doing that. Otherwise, your pancakes will be very tough.
Chunky rather than completely smooth.
Another word of advice is when you're mixing your batter, make sure that your liquids are cold, because baking soda and baking powder are heat activated. And if you add warm water or warm milk to your pancake batter, they will give off their gases and you will end up with a flat pancake.
Pour,
So his pancake batter is a little lumpy still, and that's perfectly fine. You want to have it a little bit smoother than what he started out with, but yeah.
liquids to the dry ingredients, mixing by hand until almost combined.
So some lumps are okay.
Pour the batter onto an oiled hot griddle. Remember to allow space for spreading.
So when he's saying an oiled hot griddle, he's talking around 325 to 350 degrees. You want to kind of go a little bit lower and slower because you need to allow those pancakes to cook all the way through and the leavening agents to give off all their gas at the same time. So you're going to brown it on one side and then holding your spatula at a slight angle, go underneath the pancake. Do not hold it flat. Hold it at a slight angle so the pancake kind of goes up the spatula a little bit, then flip, and you'll be much better off. Any questions about pancakes? Miranda, what's up? Miranda.
I'm just curious, what category is Aunt Jemima's self-rising flour in?
That's going to have some leavening agent already. I don't know how to categorize it, but it's going to have some type of either baking powder or baking soda in it pre-mixed. You will want to avoid using that for this week's recipe because we want to prepare it. Understand, and it's self-rising flour, something that we don't use a lot of in industry. It's kind of rare.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next thing that we are going to delve into is omelets. Omelets are a old standby in the restaurant industry, and you will be cooking quite a few of those once you get into industry. So prepare yourselves. My advice with omelets is low and slow. Take your time, stir frequently, add a little bit of butter. Do not use oil in your pan. Butter has water in it. So when you melt the butter in the pan, that moisture that's in the butter is going to create a layer of steam between the pan and the egg, which will help it from sticking and also create a nice even texture. If you take a look on the screen over here, Chuck Norris, he's made an appearance with us. I don't think Chef Suzanne knows anything about that. But Chuck Norris, yeah, he can make an omelet without breaking eggs.
Yeah. Is that on?
And then if you take a look at these omelets that are prepared here, they're nice and blonde. We don't like to see a lot of color on the omelets because that's an indication that you're trying to cook the omelet too quick at too high of a heat. So you want to go nice, low, and slow, stirring frequently, allowing your eggs to set. When the omelet is folded into thirds like this, that is referred to as a French omelet. And what they do is if you take your omelet, you fold one part over, then you fold the other part over the top. That's into thirds. That is a French omelet. So you have your flat omelet, you fold a portion of it over into the omelet, and then you fold the other portion over the top, and that becomes a French omelet. And that's a very classic presentation. Willie, what's up?
Hey, Chef.
Hi.
You said use butter. Do you recommend not using clarified butter? Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to eggs, my preference is whole butter because number one, you're cooking at a lower temperature. Number two, you get enhanced flavor from the milk solids and the whey protein. And then number three, that layer of steam helps prevent the eggs from sticking.
Okay, could that be the reason why? Because I used clarified butter last night, Could that be the reason why my over easy stuck a little bit?
That would be a good possibility. Yeah. It's just with butter, it's just got that 20% moisture that just creates enough steam. When you melt the butter in the pan, it should just start to bubble when you add your eggs. You don't want to get it any hotter than that. And then your eggs will be happy. Make sure that you swirl the butter around up onto the sides of the pan to thoroughly cover it. That help, Billy?
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. All right, ladies and gents, going back to the omelets. So what you're going to do is you're going to crack 2 to 3 eggs into a bowl, and then you're going to mix them thoroughly. In industry, we don't season the eggs until they get into the pan because the sodium will force the egg whites to break down. So you want to avoid seasoning them too early. We'll crack 5 gallons of eggs the day before. It would be very easy for us to season them then, but it will break the eggs down. So you want to avoid doing that if at all possible. And then the best omelets and the omelets that we would like to see, if you do have filling in your omelet, we don't want it cooked with the egg. We want the filling on the inside. That's a classic way to do it. You find a lot of very quick service breakfast places that are in a big hurry. They saute their ingredients, and then they add egg, and then they fold it over and call it an omelet. And it kind of takes the charm out of it. So the omelet should have the filling in the center, folded over, nice and neat. Donald, what's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the actual assignment in the rubric says to do otherwise.
Correct.
It says no filling and to do it the way you said. Saute the vegetables and or whatever, and then dump the egg on top of it. So.
Right, and the reason we're letting you put filling in it is because on the video it shows that it has filling in it. We didn't want to confuse anybody, so you can have filling in the omelet. We just don't want you to saute ingredients and put egg in it and then fold it over, and so that's what we're trying to prevent. Okay. Willie, what's up? Willie?
Yes. Now I was looking at the video too. I noticed he didn't use cheese. Can we use cheese?
Sure. on the inside of the omelet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was listening to the last comment, so make sure I'm clear. Don't saute the vegetables, and then put the egg in. Put the egg in, and then put the vegetables that are already sauteed with.
So you should saute. Correct. You should saute your ingredients in a separate pan.
Right. Okay.
Right. And then when you go to cook your omelet, there's a couple of key things to remember. Number one, if you have Teflon, that's fantastic and preferred. If not, then if you're using an aluminum pan, make sure you are using whole butter. Hot pan plus cold oil equals no stick. Make sure that the heat level on your omelet pan is not excessive because you're going to force those eggs to burn before they cook. Once your butter has melted and begins to bubble, you will add the egg, and then you will stir gently, allowing the egg to get heat all the way through. You can stick your spatula on the side, lift up your forming omelet, and allow the raw egg to run underneath it, which will help ensure that it's cooked all the way. Then, as soon as you can flip it, you flip it, fill it, cheese it, fold it, and sell it. Any questions about that? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I had a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you want us to do the French style omelet or the American, the single fold? Which do you prefer?
I prefer the French fold, and that's a personal preference. You can do either for this week's assignment. However, the French fold is kind of a level up, and it's something that you're going to see in finer restaurants, and so it's a great time to practice it. Can that answer your question? Yep. All right, ladies and gents, let's take a look at our assignment page this week. For both assignments, we're going to be taking a look at self-identification photos. Obviously, the sanitation buckets, extremely critical in industry. It's not just something that we're trying to get you to do for fun. Sanitation buckets and sanitation issues are huge, so make sure you take that seriously. dry ingredients sifted together, wet ingredients, batter, finished product, and then when the pancake cools, you're going to break it in half. So we need all those pictures, please, this week. And then omelet. Properly cooked omelet, it's okay if you have filling, and omelet split in half to show the inside. And don't forget your narrative this week. It's very, very important. And anybody have any questions about the actual assignment submission? No? All right, ladies and gents, let's take a look at a couple of tips to help you through week 5. Rewatch this live session. Great way to post attendance. Watch the demo videos on the class page. Read your lasagna dishes. Bake and eat tacos just because. Check out this presentation again. Review the assignment page so you don't miss any pictures this week. That's something that's really critical. Once you have completed your assignment, make sure you go back against the assignment page and check everything off, that you have completed everything that's required. Don't forget your dated and week identified sanitizer and self-ID pics. Very, very important. Follow basic techniques for the recipes this week. Don't use a big pan for the omelet, right? Don't use a 12-inch saute pan. It's just too big, right? Slow it down, make it a little bit smaller. And don't overcook your pancakes. Make sure they are GBD, golden brown and delicious. And then on the omelet, we don't want to see any brown. Any brown means that you're cooking the omelet too fast and not stirring it frequently enough. So those are some hints. This information and the whole PowerPoint has already been posted onto your class page, so it's there for you to take a look at. Does anybody have any questions? Thoughts, concerns?
I will say when it comes to omelets, make sure, I myself love omelet with veggies and cheese, but make sure that that when I see it, I can still see the inside of your eggs. Because when you cut it open, I need to see what's going on, that you don't have runny eggs. So make sure that I can see what's going on there. So just
that's very important.
Aware when you're putting those things in your omelet, that the most important part is actually the eggs being completely set.
Chef Suzanne and I are really focused on you understanding the technique behind the omelet. So don't go crazy on it. But when you cut into that omelet, we need to be able to identify the fact that the eggs have been cooked properly and thoroughly. So make sure that you follow that one closely. Sabina, what's up?
2 questions. One, is it cool if we cut the pancake recipe down a little bit? 30 pancakes is an awful lot for 2 of us.
That's fine, isn't it, Chef Suzanne?
Absolutely. I actually put that, so I had that somewhere. Maybe I have that in my notes. I think because I know that 30 pancakes is so I absolutely are encouraged to convert that recipe to better suit your purposes.
Would this be a utilization? Would this be a utilization of those conversion knowledge checks?
Why, yes, it would be.
Yes.
And then that, I mean, my son's not home till next Saturday, so I only have one person to eat. Second question would be on the omelet. Do you want us to do the Denver/Western omelet, or can we get creative?
You don't have to go too crazy on that. If you want to put a little filling in there, that's okay. But we really need to focus on making sure that we have the shaped omelet, the color, and that the ingredients or that the eggs have set properly. And that's the primary concern.
Okay.
So,
all right, cool. Thank you.
And actually that kind of goes right along with the second, somebody just asked it also, can we add blueberries in our pancakes or chocolate chips? And the answer is kind of. We want you to really stick to the recipe that's given. You can get a little creative, but be aware that when you add things like blueberries or chocolate chips, you're changing up the texture and so things may not come out exactly the same, right? Because blueberries are going to definitely add some moisture into your batter. So be aware, we want you to, enjoy these dishes and have fun with them. But in this particular example, because, baking is literally baking and things like quick breads, baking is science. So if you mess too much with what's going on, chemically speaking, it doesn't always come out right. So be aware of that when if you dump in a bunch of blueberries and then go, what happened to my pancakes? I got to do them again. And that might be part of the reason. Or if you throw in a whole bunch of bananas, you know, it can be done, but you got to be very aware that it can change things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. With baking, you really have to stick to the black and white the black and white recipe, because once you start messing with chemical leaveners and adding additional liquids, it's going to alter the recipe. And if you want to add things like blueberries and walnuts and bananas and all sorts of good things to your pancakes, we would recommend that you first make your pancake batter, make your pancakes for the assignment, and then take the remainder of your batter and add in all your good stuff and consume it with your family and friends. So that would be our suggestion.
And those things are also delicious, made into sauces and compotes and on top of a pancake that's already been beautifully cooked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and gents, thank you for a good week 5 live session. Get your assignments in early, please. This class rocks and rolls. We are very, very proud. Make sure that you are posting attendance on a regular basis so we're not chasing you down. And if anybody needs help, make sure you reach out and you let us know. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.